These tapes were never meant to be seen. Locked away in the ruins of the Roosevelt Asylum, hidden from the public for over 30 years. What they reveal is more than a mystery. It's a truth no official report dares reveal. Tonight, you will see the evidence, hear the testimony, and decide for yourself what really happened within those walls. Before the disappearances, Roosevelt Asylum was more than a crumbling building. It was a lifeline for the forgotten. Opened in 1921, its brick walls promised care and safety for the mentally ill, the elderly with no family, and those society preferred not to see. At first, it thrived. Local papers praised the staff for their dedication, and the town took comfort knowing the most vulnerable were looked after. But cracks began to show. Funding was slashed, wings of the facility closed, and whispers of neglect reached the outside. By the late 1970s, patients spoke of strange noises in the night, of staff vanishing mid-shift, of corridors that seemed longer the deeper you walked. Official records brushed these claims aside, labeling them delusions, stress, or institutional hysteria. Yet in the background, unexplained incidents stacked up like bricks in a wall nobody wanted to examine. Then came the first confirmed disappearance, quietly noted in a single line of the daily log. Patient 0143, absent during morning roll call, location unknown. No search party, no police report, just another name crossed out. Families were told their loved ones had checked themselves out or relocated to another facility. None of them received a forwarding address. As months passed, more names were erased from the roster. Some were patients, others were staff. The building's decay mirrored its secrets. Ceilings leaked, paint peeled, and the once bright common rooms were locked and abandoned. In their place came silence, broken only by the buzz of failing lights and the echo of footsteps no one could trace. Locals began avoiding the property entirely, crossing the street rather than walk past its gates. Roosevelt Asylum, once a place of healing, had transformed into a shadow over the town. And yet, what would be uncovered decades later would prove those early whispers had been far more than paranoia. The first wave of vanishings began quietly, almost invisibly, like the building itself was swallowing its own inhabitants. Records show that in March 1978, patient Margaret Lewis, 64, failed to appear for breakfast. Nurses assumed she was resting in her room, but when the door was opened, her bed was perfectly made, slippers neatly placed beneath, and no sign she had slept there at all. Her file was updated with a single note: absent, presumed discharged. That phrase would become disturbingly familiar in the years that followed. In July of the same year, an orderly named Thomas Hensley disappeared during his night shift. Colleagues reported seeing him push a medicine cart down the East Wing corridor, a section notorious for flickering lights and faulty locks. But security cameras from that night show nothing. The hallway appears empty, though the sound of rolling wheels can still be heard in the footage. His locker remained untouched, containing his wallet, watch, and half-eaten sandwich. By 1980, the disappearances escalated. Some victims were last seen in the courtyard, others in their rooms, and at least 3 were reported missing from the staff break room. No alarms were triggered, no broken locks, no forced entry. Police investigations were perfunctory at best, often closed within days. Families begged for answers, but the asylum's administration cited patient privacy laws, refusing to share details. Patterns began to emerge. Most vanishings occurred between 2 and 4 a.m. in poorly lit areas, often with electrical outages reported in the same time frame. Maintenance logs reveal repeated complaints about humming noises in the walls, strange shadows under door gaps, and cold drafts in rooms with sealed windows. Each report was marked resolved, though no real repairs were ever documented. Locals began trading stories in hushed tones, that the asylum was cursed, that the building itself shifted at night, that some rooms had no doors in the morning. Former employees claimed the East Wing was wrong somehow, longer on certain nights, with door numbers repeating in impossible sequences. By 1984, 22 people had vanished within Roosevelt's walls, yet the asylum remained open. Those who worked there learned to avoid questions, to stick to the well-lit hallways, and never, ever walk alone after midnight. But even the brightest corridors couldn't hide the darkness growing within those walls, darkness that would one day be captured on tape. It was nearly 2 decades after Roosevelt Asylum's closure when the tapes surfaced, hidden not in an evidence room but in the damp basement of a municipal storage facility. The boxes were unmarked, their cardboard swollen from years of moisture. Inside, stacked like relics of another time, were dozens of VHS cassettes. Some were labeled with dates and times. Others bore only a red X. The smell of mildew clung to the air as the first tape was fed into an old player. The footage began with a static haze, then resolved into the grainy image of Roosevelt's East Wing. A lone chair sat in the middle of the corridor, as though placed for an audience that never arrived. Seconds later, a shadow moved, though no figure cast it. On another tape, a nurse is seen walking briskly toward the camera, glancing over her shoulder. She passes a doorway, and in that instant, her form blurs and fades, leaving the frame entirely. The camera continues recording an empty hallway, the soft hum of fluorescent lights the only sound. Some of the recordings were more disturbing in their subtlety. A patient stands motionless in the day room, eyes fixed on the wall clock. For 6 minutes, they do not blink. At the exact moment the second hand reaches 12, the image distorts, and the patient is gone. No footsteps, no sound, just absence. The most unsettling discovery wasn't the content, it was the timestamps. Many matched the exact dates and times listed in the missing persons reports. It was as if these tapes were the only witnesses to events no human eye could explain. Whoever filmed them hadn't turned over the evidence, hadn't reported their findings. They'd hidden them. The question was, why? As each tape played, the same feeling crept in, a sense that the camera wasn't just recording, it was watching, waiting. The release of the Roosevelt tapes reignited a mystery the town had long buried. Investigators, both official and amateur, pored over the footage, each drawing their own conclusions. The first theory was the most grounded, a cover-up of criminal activity. Some argued the asylum had been used as a front for trafficking vulnerable patients, moving them out under the cover of night. The tapes, they claimed, were never meant to document the truth, only to monitor and control the process. But this explanation unraveled quickly. No signs of forced removal, no strangers caught on camera, and most damning, some disappearances happened in locked, windowless rooms. The second theory suggested systemic negligence. Decades of underfunding had left the building unsafe, leading to fatal accidents the administration hid to avoid lawsuits. This theory clung to the idea that the tapes were a desperate attempt by a whistleblower to gather proof. Yet, it struggled to explain the phenomena visible in the footage. How does negligence cause a person to vanish mid-step without opening a door? Then came the paranormal theory, whispered among locals for years. Paranormal investigators claimed Roosevelt had been built on cursed land, an old industrial site where workers died in an underground collapse. They pointed to the humming noises in maintenance reports, likening them to spatial interference or resonance portals. In their eyes, the tapes didn't just record physical spaces, they captured moments when reality itself warped. One researcher compared the hallway footage to experimental physics videos where objects vanish from high-speed frames due to light distortions. Adding to the intrigue was the observer hypothesis, that the act of surveillance itself influenced events. In other words, the cameras didn't just witness the vanishings, they caused them. Frame-by-frame analysis revealed strange distortions whenever victims looked directly into the lens, as if their awareness triggered the phenomenon. Journalists tried to contact surviving staff, but most refused to speak. One former night guard, his voice trembling through a phone interview, admitted he'd seen something on the monitors that didn't belong in this world, before quitting the same night. By now, the tapes had been digitized and spread across forums and conspiracy sites. Every frame was scrutinized, every theory debated, yet no one could prove or disprove any of them. But among all the speculation, one particular clip stood out, holding what many believed to be the most chilling evidence of all. And it would change how people saw the Roosevelt mystery forever. The clip begins without fanfare, just another grainy feed from the East Wing, time-stamped October 14, 1986, 3:12 a.m. A nurse, later identified as Evelyn Cross, walks briskly toward the camera, clutching a clipboard. Her posture is tense, eyes darting to her left as though she hears something following her. Then, in the upper corner of the frame, a shadow appears, elongated, wrong, stretching along the wall like it belongs to someone much taller than Evelyn. She stops, breath visible in the cold air, though no vents are in sight. For a moment, both she and the shadow are still. Then, impossibly, the shadow detaches from the wall and slides across the floor toward her. Evelyn takes a single step back, and in less than a second, her body blurs, like static overtaking flesh. Her form collapses inward, folding into nothing. The clipboard clatters to the ground. The shadow lingers, stretching toward the lens before vanishing in a smear of static. For 12 agonizing seconds, the hallway remains empty, the only sound the faint hum of the lights. Then, as if to mock the viewer, the shadow reappears in the exact spot Evelyn once stood, faint like an afterimage burned into the camera's sensor, before it fades completely. Frame-by-frame review showed no cuts, no glitches that could explain it. The tape was analog, continuous, impossible to edit without visible distortion. What's more, the clock on the wall behind her froze at 3:12:14 for the entire duration of the event, resuming only after she vanished. This was no accident, no simple trick of light. It was the kind of footage that silences a room, that makes even the most rational skeptic hesitate before speaking. And for many, it was proof that whatever haunted Roosevelt wasn't done. It was waiting, watching, choosing its moments. The tapes end, but the questions don't. Roosevelt Asylum remains a place suspended between memory and nightmare, a haunting reminder that some mysteries resist explanation. If these recordings survived decades of neglect and concealment, what other secrets lie buried in forgotten corners of the world? What stories have never been told because no one dared to look? Now, it's up to you. What do you believe happened inside those walls? Was it human cruelty, a tragic failure, or something far darker? Share your theories in the comments, join the conversation, and keep the mystery alive. Because sometimes the truth isn't just hidden, it's waiting for someone brave enough to uncover it. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe for more unsolved mysteries and eerie investigations. Hit the notification bell, because you never know when the next secret will surface. And remember, some doors should never be opened, but some stories demand to be heard.